Despite being featured early in the game, Mog doesn't really join the party until much later in general, but he's actually one of the few optional characters that players can actually get. But despite that, he's actually one of the main 12 main characters that you get in the World of Balance, and he's actually a pretty decent fighter and mage overall, and surprisingly an excellent tank overall. Hi folks, this is Storm331, back to doing another Final Fantasy VI guide. This time we're covering the Slam Dancing Moogle Mog. Of course, as I mentioned in tomorrow's video character guide, Mog is actually the first playable Moogle in the Final Fantasy series. And of course, other Moogles that get featured as playable characters are in the main titles are referred to as Mog most of the time. So this actually sets a lot of evidence. Not to mention he's also a mascot for when it was brought over to the States and elsewhere as Final Fantasy III. So overall, Mog has some pretty interesting history to this series in general as the first playable Moogle. And believe it or not, he actually combines three different characteristic jobs from Final Fantasy V, which we'll go over eventually. Anyway, today we're going to be covering Mog. We're going to go over an overview of him, go over his strengths and weaknesses, his skills, final game in-game equipment, and stat level up bonus focus, among other things. If you do like the content you see on here, feel free to follow and sub to my Twitch channel as well as my YouTube channel. Any highlights I do on Twitch are going to be exported over to YouTube now, so be sure to be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. Definitely helps the channel grow bit by bit. If you like the content, what I put out, whether it be speedruns, RPGs, casual plays, beat 'em ups, etc. If you like those, feel free to give me a follow or sub on my channels, and that helps it grow bit by bit. So anyway, let's begin. So Mog may not appear so, but he's actually one of the better tanks of the game. Gao would probably be the next one, though ironically, Sabin actually has the highest defense of all the playable characters in Final Fantasy VI, which was kind of interesting. Not to mention, he also has very good magic evasion and evasion, as well as magic defense and defense as well. So, as you can definitely tell, Mog is pretty tanky in general. Unfortunately, when you take a look at his tank stats and everything, he does come with a nasty caveat of not having a lot of equipment that gives him a lot of bonuses. Mog tends to rely heavily on heavy armor, despite the fact that Mog's appearance being a lot more smaller than the rest of the cast. But he can definitely equip some pretty hefty armor, heavy armor for the most part. But unfortunately, by the time you get into World of Ruin, his equipment or body armor options become pretty terrible, because you can only have he'll have the diamond vest equipped on him for a very long time, and then until you could start winning snow scarves at the Dragonet Coliseum, which also means fighting those infamous outsiders, you won't be able to get a whole lot of options for him. So basically, even with the tank options, his equipment draws are pretty bad in terms of stat bonuses. As you can definitely see here, I mean, this gives him pretty much ultimate defense. Of course, he can equip any shield player so wishes, and if they want to get Jinjai shields, that would even bolster Mog's evasion and magic defense even further. But other than that, he also gets the benefit of having lances and spears. Nearly all of them, from what I looked up online, did my research, obviously, is the fact that all of them deal 3 times damage. I could be wrong on certain lances, but I do know that the Dragon Den version, Longius, does not give you the 3 times damage when performing jump. So, along with Edgar, this makes Mog a go-to Dragoon for the most part. As you can definitely tell, I have most of the equipment set up for that. Not to mention Holy Lance for the additional 7 additional +3 on magic, so that's not a bad option for him to have for the most part. Of course, but in terms of equipment, he doesn't really get a whole lot of options. Dance is actually one of his personal skills, and it's actually gives him a large variety of attacks. He's actually one of the few party members that actually gets access to water and wind spells pretty early, but he doesn't really get a whole lot of they kind of fall off towards World of Ruin, namely because enemies are going to have more HP. Not to mention, Mog will probably need some more time before his stats really pick up, before the damage starts picking up on enemy targets in general. But the dances are there, and it makes him very useful in general. For the most part, he's going to be your very well defended mage, but even though his strength stat is pretty low, if you're going for Dragoon setups, he will definitely be an excellent Dragoon, and he's definitely well worth investing a good chunk of your strength bonuses whenever given the chance. So that way he can get a lot more damage out for the buck in general. So anyway, that goes over pretty much a fine overview of Mog. In regards to when you can recruit Mog, he does join up early in the game when you help, when he and his fellow moogles help block, protect Terra from the guard leader and his monsters. He doesn't become playable until after the events in the Imperial Lands arc. You would have to chase down Lone Wolf once you find him in the house that has a lot of treasures, and he takes the item that was in the locked chest. You have a chance between him or the gold hairpin. If you choose the gold hairpin, Mog will not be recruitable until World of Ruin. Not to mention he'll miss a chance of getting Harmony, Water Harmony, which is a dance exclusive for the World of Balance only. But he can get caught up, but he'll miss out on a lot of level up bonuses if you do that. So in my opinion, it's definitely best to recruit Mog immediately once he becomes available for recruiting. So in World of Ruin, you go back to the area where I'm at. He'll be standing right where the Moogle charm will be. Mogulu charm is, and he'll join up, and he'll advise you to recruit his Yeti pal Umaro to return his cause. So he'll join up for the rest of the game after you speak to him here in Narsh. He's actually pretty easy to get. Not to mention you get Mogulu charm, which is arguably one of the best charms in the relics in the entire game because that eliminates all enemy encounters. Though it's kind of somewhat moot if you're doing this on the Pixel Remastered version, which is what I have at the moment, pretty much. But other than that, Mog just has some pretty good utility. Now, in past versions, Mog would, when he first joins up, will have 5 levels over your entire party. So this meant if you level up your parties into party members to 20, he'll probably be at level 25. Here in the Pixel Remastered version, they kind of changed this level scaling so that whatever your level your party is currently at, he will be pretty much whatever their highest level is. So if you have most of your party members at level 17 by the time you finish the Imperial Lands arc, he's going to be at 17. So this gives players a lot more options to level up his stats whenever possible. So this gives them a lot more leeway than it does in the previous versions, which is very nice in general, by the way. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and cover his dances. So each dance, of course, well, before we get to dances, I'm jumping the gun, unfortunately. We should go over his stats. Now, of course, what you see right here is not all of his initial stats. Of course, he does have his initial 26 stamina, unfortunately. But anyway, his initial stats are 29 on strength, 36 on speed, 26 on stamina, 35 on magic, 39 on HP gain, and 16 on MP gain. So, Mog's physical aspects are kind of low, though ironically that actually makes him a very good option for boost up his strength whenever possible. Even though he's really aiming for magic most of the time, since dances require magic, Mog's definitely one of the few several characters that probably really would like to have strength and magic leveled up whenever any chance of level ups players get with them. Because he can do Dragoons for physical damage whenever players want to, and he can also use dances to combat enemies in general. But technically his stamina is on the low end, so he'll probably succumb to instant death attacks more easily, but he'll also get less HP from regen though, even though he probably won't get a whole lot of damage from poison or sap though, but if you do want to prioritize survivability, may not be a bad idea to get Mog's stamina up to speed for a bit, but you should definitely prioritize his magic and strength whenever possible. All right, so normally I would do that recommendation last, but the dances are pretty much the big issue in covering, because not only are we going to be covering each dance, we're also going to be covering each of the abilities that comes with it in general. So Mog learns a grand total of 8 dances, as you see right here, and each one's based on a terrain that players will get that dance from. So Mog is pretty different because he utilizes for dance. He utilizes two of the main characteristics of two of the Final Fantasy jobs, namely Geomancer and Dancer, and ironically, for some of the attacks on the dances, also utilizes the Ranger's animals. So they actually borrowed a few concepts from Final Fantasy V's job system, and it actually makes Mog like given 3 different jobs in one character overall. So anyway, the dances you'll get Wind Respati. My apologies if I don't say that correctly. You'll get this when you win battles on the plane. This gives them access to Wind Slash, Sunbath, Plasma, and Cockatrice. Forest Nocturne, you'll get this for winning any battle in the forest terrain. This gives them access to Leaf Swirl, Forest Healing, Will-O-the-Wisp, and Wombat. Desert Lullaby can be won after completing a battle in the desert. This gives them the ability to use Sandstorm, Antlion, Wind Slash, and Mercat. Love Sardine is acquired when you're fighting in cities or indoor buildings. The abilities you get from this stance will give you Will-O-the-Wisp, Apparition, Snare, and Tapar. Earth Blues, this can be acquired through fighting in mountain regions. There's only 2 mountain regions in the entire game you can get this dance from, usually in Mount Colts or in World of Balance, or in Mount Zozo and World of Ruin. And the abilities you get to use with Earth Blues consist of Rock Slide, Sonic Boom, Sunbath, and Boar Brigade. Water Harmony is exclusive to World of Balance. You'll get this either from completing a battle in Serpent Trench or in the Lethe River. So this gives them the ability to use El Nino, Plasma, Apparition, and Raccoon. Twilight Raccoon, which will probably be the first dance you'll get when you take part in Protecting Terra, can be acquired from fighting in any caves. This gives Mog the ability to use Cave-In, Snare, Will-O-the-Wisp, and Poisonous Frog. Snowman Rondo, which is acquired in World of Ruin and Narsh in World of Ruin, and you can get this fighting in the snowfields near Narsh's Cliffs. That's basically the area where you fought Kefka in World of Balance, but it will be filled with monsters and the Ice Dragon there, so you can get into any of these battles and he'll get this dance. This gives Mog the ability to perform Snowball, Avalanche, Snare, and Arctic Hare. Now, if you hadn't realized, each dance has an animal that can be used every now and then. One thing to keep in mind, though, with each of these attacks or abilities that Mog uses, he has 1 out of 16 chances to perform one of the 4 techniques. So usually the first 2 for Wind Respiratory, the first 2 abilities that I mentioned, Wind Slash and Sunbath, will usually activate within 7 to 6 most of the time, and these are the most frequent activations for the most part. Whereas if he was to activate Plasma or Cockatrice, Plasma would be activated within 2 out of 16, whereas Cockatrice is 1 out of 16. So basically, if you kept track of it, 2 of the moves will be more consistent with the 7 to 6 out of 16, whereas those with 1 to 2 out of 16 will be the least used. So basically, just about everything I mentioned, it's going to be coming off from there, general. So with Wind Respiratory, Wind Slash, and Sunbath will be your most common ones. Those will be Wind Slash will be 7 and 16, Sunbath in 6 and 16, Plasma in 2 and 16, Cockatrice in 1 16. For Forest Nocturne, Leaf Swirl will be 7 and 16, Forest Healing for 6 and 16, Will-O-the-Wisp for 2 and 16, Wombat in 1 and 16. Desert Lullaby abilities, Sandstorm will be consistent with 7 and 16, Antlion with 6 and 16, Wind Slash for 2 and 16, and Mercate for 1 and 16. Love Serdane's abilities, Will-O-the-Wisp will be more common with 7 and 16, Apparition 6 and 16, Snare in 2 and 16, and Tapar in 1 out of 16. Earth Blue's abilities, Rock Slide will be more common from 7 and 16. Sonic Boom from 6 to 16. Sunbath in 2 to 6 in 16. Boar Brigade in 1 in 16. For Water Harmony's abilities, El Nino will be 7 in 16. Plasma in 6 in 16. Apparition in 2 and 16. Raccoon in 1 and 16. Twilight Requiem's abilities, Caven will be in 7 and 1 16. Snare in 6 and 1 16. Will-O-the-Wisp in 2 and 16. And Poisonous Frog in 1 and 16. For Snowman Rando's abilities, Snowball will be in 7 and 16, Avalanche in 6 and 16, Snare in 2 and 16, and Arctic Hair in 1 and 16. So, as you can definitely tell, some abilities will be more consistent, whereas others will be pretty rare. One thing to keep in mind, though, is Mog will have more success performing any of the dances that are the natural elements. So, if you were to perform Earth Blues on either Mount Colts, Floating Continent, or Mount Sozo, that will always successfully be performed without fail. Now, if you were to perform Water Harmony on a plain area, or any dance that's not part of that normal terrain, Mog has a 50% chance of stumbling. So that means if he stumbles, the dance won't go off. But if he succeeds in pulling that off, it'll change the background to match the terrain of that said dance. Now, it's important not to be doing this when you're learning dances too, because if you do any of the dances that are not native to that area and Mog hasn't acquired that dance, he will not get that either. So that's also one thing to keep in mind as well when learning dances. So now that we covered where to get these dances and whatnot, it's time to cover the abilities that go with them. Wind Slash allows you to, which is used in both Wind Respiratory and Desert Lullaby. This allows Mog to deal wind damage, and it has a spell power of 48, unblockable, and ignores split damage. This is actually a pretty good wind attack to have early on, since you won't have access to Arrow. But Arrow hits pretty much more harder, even though it won't ignore split damage. But it's still a very reliable wind attack, and it's definitely well worth using if you're going up against enemies that are actually susceptible to wind. Sunbath, of course, allows you to heal HP to the entire party, and it has a spell power of 50. So this is basically your go-to healing move for some of the dances like Wind Respiratory and Earth Blues. Cockatrice, which is exclusive to Wind Respiratory, deals non-elemental damage and inflicts Petrify to one target. It has a spell power of 50, a hit rate of 96, but it will fail against enemies that are immune to death. This is very ironic given the fact this is a Petrify move, but it definitely checks for death immunity when targeting enemies. So keep that in mind when that goes off. Sandstorm, which is used in Desert Lullaby, this allows you to deal wind damage to all opponents. Has a spell power of 45, and it allows you to ignore split damage. So this is actually a pretty decent wind ability, though it's 3 points shy of Wind Slash's damage spell power though. But it does do pretty good damage overall when it's used. So it's not really a bad ability. Antlion, of course, which is exclusive to Desert Lullaby. This allows you to cause death to one enemy, but it will fail against enemies that are immune to instant death. Unfortunately, a large amount of enemies in World of Ruin do have protection against instant death. However, thanks to Desert Lullaby and Antlion being useful, this is actually useful against slagworms in the desert south of Miranda. So that actually does get a bit more mileage, though. Meerkat, which is used for in Desert Lullaby and exclusive to that as well. This allows Mog to cast haste on the entire party for all allies. Very good ability to have, but it's very rare that goes off. Leaf Swirl, which is often used in Forest Nocturne and exclusive to that, deals non-elemental damage despite being a wind-based, looks like a wind-based attack to all enemies. Has a spell power of 50, unblockable, and ignores split damage. This is actually a somewhat decent move, and it's kind of a shame it's not really a wind ability, which makes it very laughable in some cases, but it's overall a good attack to use when using Forest Nocturne. Forest Healing, which is exclusive to Forest Nocturne as well, allows you to heal a variety of status elements. It'll heal party members of Darkness, Poison, Petrify, Silence, Confuse, Sap, Sleep, Slow, and Stop. So, like I said before, it's very rare to find healing abilities that cure Sap, and that is very good. Not to mention this also cures Slow and Stop as well. Very useful in general, and that also can stop party members from Confusion and Petrify as well as Silence. Not bad overall. Wombat, which is exclusive to Forest Nocturne, deals non-elemental damage to one enemy, has a spell power of 88, it's unblockable and ignores defense, and like Saban's Meteor Strike, this will not hit flying targets. So keep that in mind when that goes off, and it's not being used against a flying enemy. Rock Slide, which is exclusive to Earth Blues, allows you to deal non-elemental damage to one enemy, has a spell power of 65, unblockable, and ignores defense. I gotta say though, a lot of Earth-based attacks like rocks and whatnot aren't being considered as Earth, which kind of stinks. Because there's not a whole lot of Earth attacks outside Quake and Magnitude 8 and throwing gravity rods, which kind of stinks in general. I kind of really wish Mog had Rock Slide was Earth-based, because that would have been very nice to have, and having a more safer alternative Earth attack to use that doesn't hit the entire party like Quake does. Sonic Boom allows Mog to reduce one enemy's HP by 5/8 of their max HP. Inflicts sap, and it's unblockable, but will fail against enemies again. They're immune to instant death. It's good earlier on in World of Balance, but it kind of falls off completely when World of Ruin arrives. Though there are a few other enemies in World of Ruin that are susceptible to death, but a good chunk of them are going to be immune to it, though. War Brigade, which is exclusive to Earth Blues, allows you to deal non-elemental damage to one enemy, has a spell power of 53, unblockable, and ignores defense. And just like Wombat, this will not hit flying targets. Will-O-Wisp, which is used in several few dances, deals fire damage to one enemy, has a spell power of 52, and it's unblockable. This is actually a pretty decent fire damage ability, not to mention that's used in Love Sernane, in Twilight Requiem overall, so it's actually a very good ability to have for the most part. Apparition allows Mog to confuse one enemy. It has a hit rate of 120, but it will fail against enemies that are immune to confuse. Good earlier on in World of Balance when there's not many enemies that are immune to confuse, but this falls off by the time World of Ruin arrives, when you're dealing with a lot of enemies that have a lot of protection against status elements. Tapir, which is exclusive to Love Sernane, allows Mog to heal the entire party of their HP and MP, in addition to healing Darkness, Poison, Zombie, Imp, Petrify, Doom, Silence, Berserk, Confuse, Sap, Sleep, Slow, and Stop. One interesting thing about Tapir's healing ability is that this also heals sleeping targets. Well, I shouldn't say it heals the entire party, but it does heal sleeping targets of their HP and MP, and this even applies to them if they're undead through zombie stats. So this is actually a pretty decent overall healing ability, and way better than Forest Nocturne in general. Cave-In allows you to, which is used in both Earth Blues and Twilight Rec Room, reduces one enemy's HP by 3/4 of its current HP, and it's unblockable, but it will fail against enemies that are immune to instant death. Of course, like most others, it's only really useful against certain enemies in World of Ruin, but it's definitely well worth using earlier on in World of Balance. Snare allows Mog to cause death on one target, has a hit rate of 100, but will fail against enemies that are immune to death. Ironically enough, this is actually one of the few instant death moves that will instantly destroy undead enemies, so it will work against them, and it also stalls any of their final attacks for one turn. So this also has the same priorities as Oblivion, but doesn't target the entire enemy party. Poisonous Frog, which is exclusive to Twilight Rec Room, allows Mog to deal poison damage to one target, inflicts poison as well, and has a spell power of 56 and unblockable. Unfortunately, this is a very rare ability, not to mention enemies later in the game do get the ability to absorb poison and have immunity to poison in general. But it's good earlier on, though. El Nino, which is exclusive to Water Harmony, this allows Mog to deal all water damage to all enemies, has a spell power of 61, unblockable, and ignores split damage. Not a bad water ability in most cases, but that's only if you're successful in triggering Water Harmony without stumbling overall. But overall, though, it's very great, and if you do come across enemies that are susceptible to water, it's definitely well worth whipping out Water Harmony and trying to get that to work most of the time. Plasma, which is used in both Water Harmony and Wind Respiratory, it allows Mog to deal lightning damage to one enemy, has a spell power of 70 and unblockable. It's not a bad lightning spell overall. Raccoon, which is the animal exclusive for Water Harmony, allows Mog to restore HP to the whole party and heals Darkness, Zombie, Poison, Petrified, Doom, Silence, Berserk, Confused, Sap, Sleep, Slow, Stop, and even Frozen. It has a spell power of 100. Not a bad healing move overall. Snowball, which is exclusive to Snowman Rondo. This allows Mog to reduce enemies' HP by 1/2 of their current HP, has a hit rate of 100, but will fail against enemies that are immune to death. So this is, out of all the abilities that Mog gets that reduces HP, this is actually a very strong ability in general. It's just a shame that a lot of enemies later in World of Ruin are immune to death, though, which is sad. Avalanche is exclusive to Snowman Rondo. This allows Mog to deal ice damage to all enemies, has a spell power of 55, unblockable, and ignores split damage. It's very rare if you're trying to use this outside of the intended area, but if you're going up against enemies that are vulnerable to ice, like the dinosaur forest, in which Tyrannosauruses and Brachiosauruses are weak to ice, you can definitely take full advantage of Avalanche if you successfully pull that off. Arctic Hare, which is the animal exclusive to Snowman Rondo, allows Mog to basically heal all of his party members' allies, even himself, and has a spell power of 45. So anyway, that covers the dances and the abilities that go with them. So we're going to be covering the final equipment. We did touch a bit of that earlier in the guide, but in my recommendation, the best lances or spears you do get in the entire game are Holy Lance and Radiant Lance. Mog can definitely, like Edgar, can definitely run both of these pretty well. Radiant Lance does give him more of a strength boost in addition to additional agility and stamina. If you want him to take the Dragoon route, he would probably need that, but Edgar would probably want as much strength options as much as possible, since he does not really get a whole lot of equipment draws like with stat bonuses, just like Mog here. Of course, for dance reasons, Mog should definitely have the Holy Lance. This does give him a +3 on magic, and you'll win this one from beating the Holy Dragon in the Cultist Tower. For helmets, there are 3 good helmet choices. I do have the Jinjai helm equipped to him. This will make his defense, along with Snow Scarf, absolutely insane, which means just about every damage he'll take from physical attacks is going to be virtually almost down to 1 point, pretty much. But if you want a Mog to get more stat boost, his other options include Circlet, which gives him a +2 on strength, +1 on agility, stamina on 3, and +4 on magic. This is not bad since this is probably one of his best options to give Mog a very good stat boost, but it does nerf his defense quite a bit if you're going for having him take up tank roles. If you're going for Dragoon builds, Red Cap would be another good option because this will punch up Mog's strength by 4, as well as give him an additional agility and stamina by 3 and stamina +2. Unfortunately, Mog is somewhat cursed with only having Diamond Vest until he can get access to Snow Scarf. But you should try to get a Snow Scarf for Mog and Gao as quickly as possible if you can, because that'll give him virtually very high defenses. Now, believe it or not, Mog can equip the Twisted Headband in World of Balance, so if you want him to have stat bonuses and focus on his Dragoon builds, he should definitely have that equipped during the time of World Balance. If I remember correctly, he can't equip I don't think he can equip the Power Sash, but if he could, that would have been a very nice addition as well. But Twisted Headband deserves some honorable mentions, even though you probably won't use that by the time you get into World of Ruin. For shields, of course, any elemental shields, Jinjai shields, and Paladin shields would probably be the best options for Mog to utilize. Of course, if you want to make them pretty broken, Paladin shield with Snow Scarf and Jinjai Helm will be pretty busted, as he can no doubt absorb and have elemental attacks with it. But he can definitely work well with the Jinjai shield as well. That'll push his magic evasion and regular evasion up even further in general. Now, for relic setups, if you're trying to avoid enemy encounters, you should definitely have him wear the Lulu charm for the most part. That will eliminate all enemy encounters, but it won't get your party strong, by the way. But it's definitely well worth using in speedruns, as well as parts where you want to get through the dungeon pretty quickly and not want to deal with any of the enemies. I should probably point out World of Ruin has very few dungeons in which you only allowed to go back once. Those being the Collapsing Mansion in Tenzin and Science Dreamscape. Those are like only one-time visits for the most part, but just about all the dungeons in Mount Sozo can be revisited. And so if you want to get monsters for Gao's Rages, you can come back another day and another time and encounter them once your party's stronger. Now, of course, I do have Dragoon Boots and Dragon Horn equipped to Mog, since he's going to be my go-to Dragoon. With the jump ability, he'll have Spear or Lance equipped. He'll deal 3 times damage, as long as you're not using the Dragon's Den exclusive weapons, that is. Now, if you don't want him wearing the Dragoon Boots, you can get the Dragon Horn from a chest that's being guarded by the Red Dragon in the Phoenix Cave. Dragoon Boots can be purchased at Thamasa, but you can get some early accusations by using Lock Steel on either the Harvester in Sozo or the Wyvern in the Imperial Lanes. Both of them are rare steals, by the way. Now, of course, if you want to prioritize magic, giving Mog some earrings would be nice. If you want to prioritize making him focusing on physical damage, Gigas Glove also works. If you want Mog to take full advantage of both, I would strongly recommend getting Hero Rings. Those will start being purchasable in the Jajor auction house once you get into World of Ruin. Even though you'll probably have to go through a lot of non-purchasable items first before you can start affording them. But if you have the money, load up on the Hero Rings and make sure you get one to Mog in general. Because Mog can definitely is actually one of the better candidates for Hero Ring, thanks to the fact that he can pretty much use the Dragoon Boots for jump, as well as dances for magic most of the time. And I think that pretty much covers pretty much all of everything I want to talk about Mog. By the time I highlight this and export it to YouTube, it's going to be my 300th video put on the channel, by the way. So it's going to be a huge milestone, pretty much. But anyway, I am going to take off for the evening and close the stream for the most part. Anyway, thank you all for stopping by to watch the Mog character guide. I hope this gives newcomers and beginners that want to get into Final Fantasy VI a general idea of how to use this character. And Mog's actually pretty fun to use, regardless. But anyway, the next time we do another guide, we'll be covering Strago, and we want to get his lores out of the way right then and there. Of course, for all of you Blue Mage fans, you'll probably want to tune in for this to learn more about his lores. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for right now. Wait for a while before I highlight the guide and send it on over to YouTube for viewing. And I'll catch you all later. This is Storm 331 signing off. Have a great day.